In part 1, we discussed the timeline of how the trekkers were founded by a research group and the events that unfolded during their search mission. If you haven't watched it yet, I've included the video for you. In this part, we will explore the theories and strange findings related to the case. Unexplained elements. Question about autopsy. A former forensic expert, Ankudinov, claimed that the autopsy reports in the case files from May 9, 1959, are not the ones written by Vozrozhdenniy. Failure to comply with the legal standards for forensic medical examination in place at the time. Comparison analysis proves the autopsy reports from the case files are typed on the same typewriter as the copy of the resolution to close the case typed by Lev Ivanov from the supervisory proceedings. This typewriter is located at the Sverdlovsk Regional Prosecutor's Office and not the Sverdlovsk Regional Bureau of Forensic Examination, which essentially, according to Ankudinov, strips the documents of its legal force. In numerous files, multiple errors have been found in written documents, along with incorrect information. This makes it hard to believe that a person with a medical background, let alone an expert, has authored the documents. Lev Ivanov, a prosecutor who led the initial investigation. But since mid-March, Ivanov has practically not been involved in this investigation. The forensic medical examination reports of the May 4 bodies are not the originals of the reports that were issued to the prosecutor's office in the Sverdlovsk Regional Forensic Medical Examination, and not even copies of documents that have the proper certification and can be unconditionally referred to, but merely reprints of these reports, prepared in the Sverdlovsk Regional Prosecutor's Office, which essentially have no legal force at all. It becomes clear that someone was trying to sabotage the autopsy reports. What was Lev Ivanov's purpose in this case? Was he merely a prosecutor investigator, or was there something more to his role? Knives in Dyatlov case. The Dyatlov case, we have folding pocket knives with small blades and finish-type knives. To this day, to carry a knife with a blade longer than 10 centimeters, you need a permit. On a trek, everybody needs a knife of some sort. To cook, you need a knife. In this case, knives are missing, not just because they should have been, but because we see them in the photos and they are missing later on. In the tent, Dyatlov's penknife with string carabiner in the pockets of his jacket and trousers. The Bobrignol's penknife and a finish knife in the pockets of the windbreaker and trouser. Krivonishenko's knife, seen on many photos, is not mentioned to have been found anytime, anywhere. But Lev Ivanov is saying that the hikers used it to cut branches for the fire under. The cedar. This is a head-scratcher, one of many. In the resolution to close the case, Lev Ivanov says that Krivonishenko's knife was used to cut the trees since it was found in the ravine next to the last 4 bodies. The protocol of inspection of the scene where the bodies were found goes into great detail about everything found there, including number and kinds of trees, as well as clothing, but never mentions any knives. There is a misconception that is cited over and over, that Krivonishenko's knife was found at the tent on May 6, 1959. It's said that Alexander Nevsky burned his diaries, notebooks, maps. But the relatives were never given a diary that belonged to Kolevatov from that fateful trek. She kept the knife, which used to be in a leather sheath. She considered it a family heirloom, treasured it as a memory of Sasha. Therefore, she begged investigator Ivanov to return this knife to the relatives. Lev Ivanov, for reasons known only to him, did not want to give back either the knife or the sheath. Then he agreed to return only one of the 2 items, either the knife or the sheath. Rima chose the knife. Why Lev Ivanov didn't want to return both the knife and the sheath? Because they did not fit. The finding and reporting of the knives in the Dyatlov Pass incident is riddled with discrepancies. Interview with Yuri's elder brother. Yuri Krivonishenko, along with Yuri Doroshenko, was found 1.5 kilometers from the tent in the forest under the cedar. It is believed that both Yuri died the very first, since all the outer clothing was cut off by other hikers in order to warm themselves. According to the examination, Krivonishenko and Doroshenko died from hypothermia. But at the same time, chopped branches were found right under the cedar. Why both Yuri froze in a calm forest near a fire and in the presence of firewood is unclear. To many researchers of this tragedy, Yuri Krivonishenko seems to be a rather mysterious person. It is known that he worked at the Mayak secret nuclear enterprise. It is believed that he was a KGB recruit. Yuri's clothes turned out to be radioactive. For some reason, Yuri Krivonishenko, as well as another victim, Semyon, was buried separately from other hikers in a prestigious and already closed city cemetery. It is known that Krivonishenko's father was the construction manager of the power station. It is said that he sought the truth about the death of Yuri, using his authority. Yes, he led a huge strategic construction site and was promoted to Major General. I can tell you a story about his authority. In 1949, Yuri's father came under investigation. A case was brought against Yuri's father in the prosecutor's office and he could be punished very harshly. But, as he later told us, they call him again to the prosecutor and tell him that the case is closed, to continue work. My father, out of the corner of his eye, saw a telegram on the prosecutor's desk saying, "Do not touch Krivonishenko," written by Joseph Stalin. Therefore, father managed to get Yuri to be buried where the parents decided. When father returned from the morgue with identification, he was simply silent. Yuri's elder brother began to ask him, "Have you seen Yuri?" He answered, "Yes, he saw him." And he didn't utter a word after this. Before the funeral, Yuri was put in a closed zinc coffin. He was not brought inside the house, they laid him in the yard. Then they put the coffin in the church at the cemetery. There was no service. It was not allowed back then. He did not say anything. He didn't want to upset us. But the members of the search groups talked at the wake that the corpses were all black. All we knew was that the tent was torn with a knife, and they came out through these holes. It was only later that conversations began that there could be some kind of military test. They also said that it was a rocket that flew to Novaya Zemlya from Kazakhstan, but fell. Even when Dad and I were gathering at the table, there was no talk about this topic. If I asked my father, he avoided responding. He died, dead, and that's it, an accident. If father knew something, he didn't have time to say it. He died suddenly in 1970, when he was 63 years old. To clarify, the Mayak disaster occurred on September 29, 1957, and Yuri, for sure, came under exposure there. His relation with the company soon went south. The family archive contains Yuri's letter of resignation dated August 15, 1958. But Yuri still quit. He took a break and went to Otorten. It is possible that Krivonishenko went on the expedition in the same clothes in which he had been at the Enterprise. This means that the radioactive elements found on his sweater and pants could be picked up while working on the rehabilitation site. Most likely the tests were unsuccessful. In those days, there were rumors. Somewhere near this pass was a military unit. And then in the middle of the night suddenly they saw some kind of glow in the sky. The soldiers jumped out of the barracks. And allegedly some soldiers went to a psychiatric hospital. This is what people said. Father was appointed construction manager of the Beloyarsk nuclear power plant in the Urals. He built it. And when the installation of the nuclear equipment began, he was transferred to Pavlodar. In the early 60s, he asked to be sent to Ukraine, and he was returned to his homeland. After graduating from UPI, Konstantin explained, in the early summer of 1957, Yuri got a job at the now infamous Mayak plant. I don't know exactly what my brother was doing there. He said that he had soldiers under his command. And soon at the Enterprise there was an explosion of a storage. There was a fairly large emission of radiation. This is a known fact. It is quite possible that he brought this radiation on clothes from the Enterprise. After all, if he had soldiers under his command, then he probably participated in the liquidation of the consequences of the explosion. After that, he quit, got transferred somewhere, and went on vacation. He did not return from this vacation. What was Krivonishenko's purpose at Dyatlov Pass? Did he simply go on a vacation, or was he involved in a military experiment? Passport in Dyatlov Pass. Only 2 passports were found. Dyatlov's passport was found in his field bag that remained in the tent. The big deal is that if they needed their passports and they brought their passports, then where are they? Only Semyon's passport was found and returned to his mother, but in the case files there is no mention of his passport. Where was Semyon's passport was founded, who found it and when? Money on Dyatlov group. It was found that group was carrying the money 5,700 rubles. Money was left at the scene. Robbery was not the motive. But how come Krivonishenko, Kolevatov and Zolotaryov have no money on them? None whatsoever. Unless they were misplaced prior to the official discovery of the tent and bodies. Fireballs flew across the sky. During the search for the missing hikers in the Urals, strange phenomena occurred. 50-year student of the Ural Polytechnic Boris in the second half of March 1959, among other hikers, also went in search of his missing comrades. One night he happened to observe something mysterious in the sky. There was a very strange incident, which not only me, but everyone remembered, he recalled. One night, the hikers on duty woke everyone up whispering, "Guys, get up, get dressed, all go out one at a time." When we got out, we saw a large fireball floating across the sky, outwardly similar to the disk of the moon. But not the moon. This ball was larger in diameter. And so it moved away from the ridge, passed a little away from us. We did not observe a bright glow. Then it disappeared over the horizon. We were all puzzled. What it is? No one had seen such a thing before. Such phenomena in January-March 1959 were observed by many local residents. There is evidence of this in the criminal case, but there are no official explanations about the nature of these balls. There are only assumptions that these were rocket launches from the Kapustinyar test site to Kamchatka. Notes in diary. On January 27, 1959, while at the 41st logging site, Dyatlov group learned some Mansi words. Zina, Luda and Rustam make similar notes in their diaries. The words they wrote in Russian sounds like "I am a river" or "I am in the river." Something that makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up when you think, where was Lyudmila found? Her body was partially submerged in a stream under several feet of snow. I'll do Amelia in her diary. Yes, and I generally like to add fuel to the fire, damn me to hell. The mood sank. In general, I am very, very sad. January 26th. Mood is bad and probably will be for 2 more days. Evil as hell. What can cause such changes in Lyudmila's behavior from January 26th to 30th, which later became the victim of revenge in Dyatlov group murders? During the episode, a man claims that he had kept secret of Mansi shamans. Anatoly Stepakin says he knows what happened in Dyatlov Pass. A Mansi said, "We don't need to hide anything. We are the owners here. And if someone takes something, we will find it." We had one case. Hikers in the mountains looted our sacred place. Shamans and hunters found out, tracked them down. And in the middle of the night, when they fell asleep, the shamans cut the tarp and launched some kind of dope inside. Hunters surrounded the tent, and when the hikers jumped out, we killed them all. They were 9 or 10. And did that Mansi said in what year it happened? He didn't say, and I didn't ask. I then said, "So you should have been punished for the murder." And he answered, "The hunters were catching the hikers and passing them to the shamans. We own this place and we do what we want. We will never offend people, we will always help, but there is no need to violate our sacred places." Fatima Hadweva, psychic, psychosoteric. She wants to go as far away as she can, so much pain she feels. She says we are all rational adults, so why would we want to reopen the case on first place? Fatima says you are missing one moment. Did the hikers know what they are doing? Yes. Did they know where they going? Yes, it says everywhere that they went to have fun. Yes, they were in vacation. Do you believe that they went for recreation? Mixed response. You have to understand. I was feeling, seeing, understanding Dyatlov. He was ambitious, strong-headed. He wouldn't just go to have fun. He would have spent this time to research, learn and try new things. Interviewer asks, so what to think happened? This is complicated matter, not a piece of cake. One actions leads to another. So you think this was a murder? Prosecutors, pay attention. I am giving you the solution. First, you have to remember that this was the Soviet Union. Second, we have the local people. As a specialist in interethnic relations, I can tell you that they are also ambitious and defensive of their territory. Prosecutor asks what exactly happened on Dyatlov Pass. She replies, Zolotaryov was to blame. He changed with somebody else. The hikers were doing experiments and there was a whiff of radiation. Whiff of? Well, not a whiff of radiation but chemical. And our government was not stupid. There was radiation there. And they knew the portal of time that existed there. Awfully many things happen in the zone of anomaly. Fatima had waved there is a zone that has very strong winds, and winds are very important. In ancient tales there is an expression howling of the wind. What contributed to their demise was fear, sound, and hysteria. And then what happened was murder. This is not an accident. What do you think happened to the hikers? Did they die from hypothermia? But then, why was their skin somewhat brick-colored? Were they involved in some kind of experiment? Could this have been the work of the government or military?